Hello, I'm MPX Toycat, and one of the questions I got this week was very weird and niche, but it actually does have an answer, because what if there was a music disc that scared the Warden away is something that the Warden's developer, King B Dogs, has directly answered on his Twitter, because someone asked, will it be attracted/affected by note blocks/jukeboxes, and he says it will not. This is both for design reasons, we want it to be physical like motion, and for technical reasons. And so the jukeboxes and the note blocks will not have any effect on the Warden, despite both being effectively sound. And I guess it makes sense because even though the Warden is a very audio-based mob, not every single audio source can play around with it. However, in that same tweet, we had answers to the second question, which is how will it react to explosives in the form of creepers or TNT? Will it run away when it hears them? And finally, if a player manages to lead the Warden into coming out onto the surface, will it have some ability which it will go back to underground? And it's interesting because the second answer is it will probably investigate the location it felt/heard the vibrations. So TNT is probably going to be a valid part of strategies to distract the Warden, because you can light TNT, detonate it, and then be quite far away by the time it goes off. And then finally, we have the fact that in the current design of the Warden, it will burn in sunlight. This means that, again, there is probably some strategy to digging a giant hole above the deep dark and then burning the Wardens alive like that. And although we can't say for sure that that won't be changing before the release, it's a pretty fun thing to imagine regardless. So with that new Warden knowledge, I figured I would also address a very common question, which is when is the Warden coming to the game? It's not coming in the 1.17 update, which is super soon now. It is instead coming in 1.18, most likely. But something that isn't coming in 1.18, which apparently Imagine Create Reality hasn't heard about, but I figured I'd give you an update on, is do you think Archaeology will be packaged with Part 2 of the Cave update? Part 1 of the Cave update is 1.17, coming out in the next few weeks. Part 2 is coming out in the holiday season of 2021, and sadly, Archaeology, as we can confirm from this clip.
So there is one feature that is postponed, even like after the holiday release, and that's Archaeology. And the reason is that Archaeology is a complete new system, which is very exciting, but that means that we really want to give it the time it deserves so we can make it fun, inspiring, delightful, and Minecrafty.
Is being delayed to some future point beyond 1.18. This means the earliest we can have those archaeology features we saw at Minecon Live in 2020 will be sometime in the year 2022. The earliest we can see is the 1.19 update, and it's kind of sad, but again, I hope with the extra year of development, something fun can happen with it. Who knows for sure if archaeology will even ever come to the game, because one of the problems Minecraft has is if they say something's coming in the far future, i.e. past an update or two from now, it tends to not come, but again, we'll have to see, because Archaeology was such a fun set of features that I'd love to see and that I hope is just going to benefit from being thought about and worked on this whole time. But again, we'll wait and see. Speaking of wait and seeing, I wanted to address at the end of my Let's Play, I mentioned that I preferred outdoor skiing to indoor skiing, although I had to do indoor skiing a whole bunch more. And interestingly enough, I got these two questions basically within an hour of each other saying the same thing, which is what on earth is indoor skiing? And I figured I would clarify here that obviously what they do is they climate control the inside, they make some fake snow, they make a fake slope, they get some fake ski lifts. I guess the ski lifts are real, but the basically it's like it's all indoors. It's kind of like a real mountain, but they make it from scratch themselves, and so that's what you might not have expected. Although it's something I think is a lot of fun. But even if you don't have those, there is something called dry skiing. It blows my mind that this exists. It's like these weird roller. It looks like the thing like a paintbrush, but you ski on it somehow. It makes no sense to me, but you can ski indoors. It's just kind of ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, I wanted to actually talk about this next comment, because Pog says, wait, can you put a copper block in front of an observer, and as it oxidizes, it would send a redstone pulse, or whatever you call it? And this is the weirdest thing. I had to just quickly check on the wiki if it was a different block state. Yes, when the copper oxidizes, i.e. changes from orange to being slightly more green, like the Statue of Liberty, but when the copper oxidizes, it does turn into a slightly different block state. And so, fun fact, I guess, did you know that you can make the world's weirdest redstone system by having, it'll take days for it to change, but you can do that, and Pog, now you know. That's a very strange name. A stranger profile picture. So Ezra Morgan asks, do you know what the first thing you'll do will be when 1.17 releases? Will you build your lava farm, find axolotls, or just do nothing and wait for the whole update to release? And obviously, you know, there's a fun joke in like, I'm just going to wait for 1.18. But I think in reality, the thing that excites me most in this update is probably copper. I want to do a lot of things of the copper. I love the idea of a resource that can recognize the age in your Minecraft world. I don't know, maybe later I'll start to appreciate orange copper more than green, 2017, but I want to get some green copper builds like as early as I can, almost like a speed run to get some green copper builds. And then the second thing that I'm going to be doing after that is probably just going, actually I think it kind of ties in. I want to do some mining anyway, and I want to like really feel out these new caves and get like an amethyst geode, maybe multiple amethyst geodes, so I can farm those crystals and do something with them. Because again, I'm sure there'll be more uses for them in the future, and even right now I think there's some fun to that. So yeah, those are the things I'm most excited for. I think the last part of your question there is really interesting. Ezra Morgan, I recognize the name. He's a regular on the live streams, which we've been doing a lot recently. Thank you for showing up to those. But the Java Thief 12 said something really interesting because they suggest that they don't want to experience 1.17 until 1.18 comes out. I'm on Windows 10 and wondered if I can turn off automatic updates somehow. So there is a way to turn off automatic updates. You go into the store settings and you can make your Minecraft updates manual. I honestly wouldn't recommend it for most people, but if you want, you can choose not to update to 1.18. A lot of people have done this for 1.16 speedrunning reasons, and if you really want, you can stop the updates anytime you like. However, I will say I think it's a very drastic step. 1.18 is going to be a better update than 1.17 because it obviously contains the new generation that makes the context for the blocks make more sense. However, I would say that 1.17 is still going to be more fun than 1.16. I think it's weird if a Minecraft update isn't better than one before, and I think there's no exception here. I am looking forward to, in 1.17, playing around with the new stuff. Is it as great as it would have been if the full Caves and Cliffs update came out? No, I mean, that goes without saying many times over. But is it still going to be a fun update that's worth checking out? Yes. Should you turn off automatic updates? I don't think so. I think that 1.17 terrain might even have some weird quirks that make it worth keeping around for the future. But again, maybe I'm being crazy. If I am being crazy, then maybe you'll appreciate this next question, because NTD Films says, do you think there'll be new achievements in 1.17, or will they wait until 1.18 and add them with the new generation? So here's the thing about this update. We don't really know how they're marketing it yet. Again, they usually do the biggest marketing push in the days and weeks before the update. Like right now, they're just talking about Caves and Cliffs Part 1. They know that it's a sore spot from community, so they're not talking too much about it. If they push this really heavily as being a Caves and Cliffs update, they're just like, Caves and Cliffs are being updated, you want to check it out? I would say new achievements are guaranteed. I would say the new achievements were probably planned this whole time. However, I think that it's also possible that this holiday update, because Christmas is a huge time of year for Minecraft, to add some more emphasis, some push, some reason to explore just what is effectively existing blocks but in new formations. I think new achievements might be a great way to do that. And so I would suspect 1.18, unless they already designed them and they're just going to push them out anyway. But that's just my expectations so far. Speaking of expectations, Nate asked an interesting question that, do you think Minecraft development is slower than it should be? Than I expect, perhaps you could say. For how big the game is and how infrequent updates are, do you think more employees or better management is needed? And I'm gonna level with you here. I think a lot of, there are very hardworking Minecraft developers. I've spoken to a fair few of them, and I'm sure you can imagine that there's a huge number of people putting their hearts and souls into making this game better. And I think that's, I love that. These people are doing a great job. However, I think it's clear that whoever is in charge of managing this, and there is such a huge number of people managing this, like even if we're talking the layers above the community managers, you know, the COOs, the CTOs, the CEOs, all these weird little positions in Mojang that do these super higher up things and manage the people, hire the people, etc. They're clearly not doing a great job if they've got the world's biggest game and they set themselves a deadline to release one thing in a year. You know, they cancelled the side spin-off game, Minecraft Earth. They're cancelling so much, and then the one thing that isn't cancelled, the Caves and Cliffs update, has to be split in two. That to me is such a clear mismanagement. This should have been clear for months before that they could have done something and they, you know, like they were going to make it work. But they didn't get it clear, and then they delayed things by 6 months. The slam dunk of an update from the community has been, messed up, and that is a clear management failure, right? There are people who get paid deep in the 6 figures. I'm sure some people are getting paid in the 7 figures whose job it is to get this stuff done. And, in exchange for those high salaries, they are responsible for making it happen. And so when it doesn't, that's on them. Is it because they didn't hire enough people? I don't know for sure, right? We spoke to Olaf about that, and he said something along the lines of like, well, 9 women can't make a baby in 1 month or something. That might be true. So if it's not the number of employees, it's how well they paralyze them. If it's not the paralyzation of it all, it's like the strategic and the timing and the deadlines or whatever. I can't tell you for sure, but there is definitely some problem somewhere in the management. I just can't tell you where the problem is. Speaking of problems, Brandon, Ice Cold Brandon to be precise, says, on a long-term survival world, should I explore new chunks in 1.17 or wait until 1.18? And this is a question I've had so many times because everyone was waiting for the Caves and Cliffs update to explore chunks. That's the #1 pro tip when there's a new update. Don't explore things so you can explore them after the update and get the new chunks. But what do you do with the 1.17, 1.18 split? And this is my advice. Imagine you have a Minecraft world. This is the explored portion of it. This is a lovely paint diagram, thank you very much. And now imagine 1.17 comes out. Rather than exploring all of it, just explore a bit. Just explore this red little square over here. Get you some new copper ore, which is only going to spawn in the red. Get some amethyst geodes, which are only going to spawn in the red. And enjoy some of those new drops, which will spawn only in the red, like the new glowberries and mineshaft, stuff like that. There's reason to go underground and explore the new terrain, even if it's not that different. But then when 1.18 comes out, maybe you could explore the orange. Explore all the way around as much as you like. Just make sure you leave explore new areas for 1.17. That's essential. Just make sure you leave more areas to explore after 1.17 comes out. Speaking of 1.17 coming out, it's not going to fix one of the long-running problems because my world is very ugly. Thank you for mentioning it, Quadded. The actual reason why my world is so ugly, which is definitely, this is a sincere comment that wants the deep story, is that I like a world that doesn't just conform to all the normal standards. There are certain things that you have to do to make an objectively great looking build or whatever, but that's not the fun that I enjoy. I enjoy much more making something that's weird looking, and I'd rather it be weird looking and for people like you to unenjoy it than for it to look exactly like everyone else's. And so with that said, that brings us into the last question, because Gaza1112 or 1121 asks, what are the rules and procedures for selling a map on the marketplace? This came up a whole bunch in response to the lava challenge video, which was a command block they were selling for $5. To clarify, it was just a single command block that replaced grass with lava, and it's a ridiculous thing, right? It's ludicrous that someone can do that, but the truth is the only minimum standards are that you have to get approved to the partner program, which is really the hard step. They only take people they think have talent, but then some really talented people. Like, if you look at what the people who made Modern House did before Modern House, they did incredible things, and then they started making modern houses. It's a problem because they don't really have any quality checks. They just make sure that you meet some minimum standard, and the minimum standard is something along the lines of, again, not that I can publicly say exactly what they are, but I can hint that there's something along the lines of like minimum content requirements. You can't just sell a command block unless it comes with a castle that's next to it. And so they met the minimum standards without really making a great map. Honestly, something I've thought about ever since looking at that map is like, what if I made a version of that was actually fun and then sold it for half the price, or even just gave it away for free, It's something I've been wanting to do, and I've been playing around with a little bit. So yeah, if you want to stick it to bad Minecraft maps, I want to stick it to them too, and I've been motivated to work on a solution. But speaking of solutions, this week is obviously very exciting for Minecraft. Pre-releases, real releases. 1.17 is coming soon, and although stuff like the Warden is still this far-off stuff that we're waiting another 6 months for, copper ore and telescopes and lightning rods and amethyst geodes and even tinted glass, stained glass, tinted, I think it's tinted glass. All of these exciting new things are coming super soon, and I'm looking forward to exploring them with all of you. I mean, the Wandering Trader's already been there, apparently, but the key thing I wanted to share today is that I hope you all enjoyed this video. It'd be a shame if something fire-related happened to your house, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.